Hey friends, welcome back. So in this second part of this series we are going to do uh, I have a couple of lists down here. We are going to first create a base template for our project, and we are going to create model and a super user for our database. Then we will create a view that will show all of the to do or the tasks that you want to add into your database. So let me show you first how to set up your base template. So inside our to do template directory, we'll create a new file called base template base.html. So what this will do is that this base.html will contain all the basic HTML that will be used in every page of your website. So what do I mean by that? It would be better if I show you in practical. So I'll write here first HTML, and this will give me a basic boilerplate. I'll add a title here called to do app, and inside this body tag I'll write here the Django templating engine expression. So what the Django template engine expression is that it basically allows us to write different types of Python expression inside the HTML file, so we can do some pretty kind of programming stuffs in HTML. So I'll write here first a few curly braces, then percentage signs, and inside those I'll write here block content, and now I'll add another block, and in this block with int block content. Okay, so everything of this page will be remain same, but inside these blocks data will be changed. Okay, so it will be based on which file we are rendering this base HTML template. So let me save this first, and let me go back to my index.html. What I will do here is to import the base HTML in my index.html. I'll write here curly brace percentage signs, and I'll write here just extends base.html. Now I will just add those blocks here. So I'll write here block content, and then I'll add here in block. Okay, so I will save this, but before that let me show you something. Currently in this page, if I go and open up view page source, you can see that this page is holding just only one data called ion, but it doesn't have any other HTML tags. So now if I save this and run the server, sorry about that, run my browser, you will not notice anything here. So okay, so it says here base.html template does not exist. Okay, what is this problem? Oh, I forgot to add the absolute path, so this would be to do app slash base.html. Let me save this, and now if I run this, you will not notice any change here, but you will notice change inside the view page source. So if I now run this, you can see that we have all those HTML tags that were inside our base HTML file, but the only thing updated is the content that is inside our body, because we added the block content Django templating expression inside our body. Okay, so our first work has been done. The next work is to create model and super user. So let's go to our text editor, and if you notice inside our app there is a file called models.py. So what models are basically is that, think of it like as a table, okay? A table that has different rows and columns, and we can use that table to store any data. Okay, so in order to create a model, we have to create a class first. So class, and write the name of the model. Since this is going to be a to-do list, I'll just call this as to-do. And now inside this parameter, I'll call the models.model. So what this means that this class will inherit everything from this class. So if you know what object-oriented programming is, you can understand that this is basically an inheritance. Okay, so let me save this. Now I have to create different columns for our table. So the first column will be our title, and this will be title of our post. Since we are working with models, I'll write here models, and now I have to add what type of field I want. Since this will be just a title field, I'll write here just char field, and inside the parentheses I can add something like max underscore length 200. So this is a limitation of the title I want, characters I need, and I can also set null equals to false, which means that you cannot set your data to null. The next thing I need is the content, and I can also just set this content data as a character field also, but I can leave the option of placing this as null. The most important thing we need is obviously the date, so I'll write here models dot date time field, and I can add something called auto now dash add true. So this will automatically detect the date in our current system and then add that date to our database. The next two things I need is a class called meta, so that we can set the ordering of our data. So we'll set ordering, and this will be based on the date. So we set the ordering minus date because we want to see the latest or updated post. The last class I need is str class. And all it will do is just return self dot title. Okay, so I think I made a mistake here. Let me just add a function here. Okay, so now I know that I actually made a mistake here. Let me save this and see what this should do. So str actually stands for string representation. So when we will run our database and we will see our data through the admin panel, our database will the data of in our database will be represented by the title of the post. Okay, so since I have created a new model, what I need to do is to make some migrations. Okay, so let me first quit this, and now I will make some migrations. Okay, so it migrated, it created a new model called Todo. Now we need to save this migration, so I'll write here migrate. Okay, so it has been migrated. Now we need to create a super user to see our database. Let me play this out. What I will write here is python manage.py create super user, and I can just leave it this blank if I want the username to be Ion. So I'll just hit enter, and now I can add an email address. I can even add a fake email address here, fun just now. Now I can add a password, and the password will be hidden, so I need to add the password again. Okay, so super user has been created successfully. Now we'll run the server and we will see our manage.py. Okay, manage.py run server. Okay, server is running. Now I can just go to my browser, and after this 8000 I can just add here /admin to enter into our admin panel. Okay, so I'll just write here the username, and I'll add here the password. If I click login, you can see that this is our Django administration panel. But wait a sec, we just created a model, but where is the model that we created? Okay, so in order to add that model, we just have to import that model into our admins file, and that then set or actually register that model in our admins.py. So let me show it to you guys. Let me go back to my app directory, and inside this admin.py, first I'll just import that model. So from .models import, and the model name was Todo. Now I'll just write here admin.site.register, and I'll add the model name. So let me save this. Now if I hit reload, you can see the model. All we need to do is open up this model, and we can just add our data here. So if I click add Todo, you will see two fields. The first field is the title field, and the second field is the content field, the fields that we created in our model. So I'll write here learn basic Django, and I can add a content here. I want to learn Django. Okay, now let me save this. Okay, so this data has been saved into our database, but what we can do with this data, how can we show this data in our website? In order to do that, we have to import that model into our views file also. Then we have to create a view that will render that data in our HTML file, and that view will be connected to our URL path that will produce that data or that web page. What do I mean by that? It would be better if I show you the example. So let's go back to our views file. Okay, so in our views file, we'll also import the model first. So from .models import and the name of the model was to do. We can just use the home page as our first view to show all of the to-do list that are in our database. And Django uses something called Object Relational Mapper, or ORM, which has basically some fundamental queries that we can use to get data or update the data or delete data from our database. So in order to load all of those data, what I will do here, I'll write here to do, or I can also write here just only call posts. Then I will call the model first, so to do dot objects dot all, and this will fetch all of those data that are inside our database to do model. Okay, so now I need to just pass this data into our context. In quotation I will write here post and then post. Now in order to show this in our templates, let's go back to our index.html, and here we'll use the Django templating expression. Just as I have said, we can use the Django templating expression to do some Pythonic stuff. For example, we can write a for loop here. I'll just add a curly brace, then percentage sign, and inside this I'll write here for post in posts. So this will go all of those posts loop through, and that each post will be added to post variable. Then we can use HTML tags for example, and use this h1 as our post title. So I'll write here post.title, and for content I can add a p tag and write here post.content. Now in order to close the for loop, I'll just have to write here curly brace, percentage sign, and int for. Now let me save this, and let's go and run our browser. Okay, so I'll write here localhost and 8000, and you can see that that data just we have recently added to our database is now in our browser. And this is what Django is. You just create a model, you add data to that model, and you can fetch that data in your HTML template. Okay, the last thing we need to do is was actually show to do data. So I think the work of this video has been finished, and this is how you basically create your database through your model. And then you have to make some couple of migrations to save that changes. Then inside the admin file, you just register your model, and in the views file you call your model so you can fetch all the data that model is containing. Then you just pass that data in your HTML file, and by using the Django templating expression, we use for loop to fetch each post that are inside the posts. Okay, so that was basically for this video. In the next video I will show you to do how to do CURD operation, for example like adding post using something called the Django forms, model forms. And then I will show you also how to update that form and how to delete any post. And that video will be actually the last video of this series. So I request you to please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and stay with the channel. And thank you for that. Now bye bye.